So, South Park apparently scrapped the whole big story arc they were going with this season because reality has become so ludicrous they can't properly parody it. I don't think I've heard anything more frightening in my life. When South Park gives up lampooning real life, even doing it badly, we're screwed every which way to Sunday. Then again, I've always wondered how well Trey and Matt could really create story arcs when they supposedly create their episodes in just a few days before airing. They're almost as bad as internet producers in that department. I still haven't watched much of their first big arc that was apparently meant to lampoon the whole social justice trend, but I did see their first attempt. Kenny dying for real. And yeah, it wasn't that good. I don't know what they were going for. Was it an attempt to talk about how you don't know what you've got until it's gone? Well, it's kind of a mixed message when you use the character that you killed off in every episode prior to that. I mean, there were a few episodes that I can admit weren't terrible, but those had almost nothing to do with the main arc itself. Kenny still could have been alive in the Lord of the Rings parody, and it would have had no real impact on the plot. And then they just brought Kenny back to life at the end of that season anyway, so what was even the point? Though for what it's worth, they apparently stopped the whole "oh my god, they killed Kenny" joke after that, so I guess some good did come out of it all. But probably the biggest example of all of this was Biggest Douche in the Universe, where the story arc itself was little more than a plot device, secondary to the main plot of that specific episode. I actually really wanted to like this episode, and when I first saw it, I did. But upon watching it again, I realized a number of issues it still has in trying to send whatever message it was going for. I'll explain when we get there. The episode begins with, wait, are we watching Chicago Hope here or what?
Be careful with my baby.
Hey, Cartman did believe Chicago Hope should have gotten more seasons.
I'm afraid he's running out of time.
Why? What's wrong with him?
It's his time. It's running out.
Well, what does he need?
He needs to have more time.
What can we do?
Well, I suppose we could try a time transplant.
Okay, this dialogue is still better than what's on General Hospital, I'll give it that. We then get Stan and Kyle telling Chef about Cartman's condition.
We think it's because he drank Kenny's soul 4 weeks ago. Kenny's ashes were in an urn, and Cartman drank it thinking it was chocolate milk mix.
Why didn't you tell me about this sooner?
Well, like we said, we didn't know whether or not we should care.
Well, you should. Cartman is your friend whether you like him or not.
I'd groan at that, but I think we all have that type of friend in our lives.
How long have you been challenging Kenny?
About a month.
Let's not validate his delusions.
Yeah, coming from the guy who said he needed a time transplant, I'm gonna take a wild guess that your doctorate was signed by Sally Struthers. Chef's belief is that they need to take Cartman to see the TV medium John Edward to try and speak with Kenny. You know, maybe Cartman is better off being left with the quack. So everyone heads to New York, and on the way they get treated to Rob Schneider's latest film. One that I really am surprised he never made in real life. The joke here is that all the kids hate Rob Schneider films except for Kenny. Wait, so Cartman doesn't like Rob Schneider, but he does like Adam Sandler? Huh. They arrive for the taping of the show, whose actual name they can't say, and I do need to get this out of the way now. In a previous video somewhere, I'm pretty sure that I mistakenly called John Edward either John Edwards, the former senator who got in all kinds of trouble, or Jon Stewart, the comedian, and I'm pretty sure it was in referencing this episode. I'm a moron, blah blah blah, let's move on. They get into the studio audience, and it turns out that watching John Edwards' show isn't as good as watching a WWE live event.
Mr. Edward, can you just ask Kenny how we can get him out, please?
Doesn't work that way. Now, Kenny is telling me that you are his best friends and he's in a safe place.
No, he's trapped in Cartman's body.
Oh, there's somebody with him. Who's Kyle?
I'm Kyle.
Oh, right. And, did an older woman pass? She's asking for Kyle, maybe a grandma?
Yeah, my grandma. She's here?
She says there was something she asked you to do and you're not doing it. She wants you to look for 4 white doves.
Oh my god!
So with them having discovered that John Edward is a crock, Chef then says they need to take Cartman to see his parents in Scotland. Maybe you should have thought of that first, Chef.
Your parents are meeting you at the airport in Denver.
There's 4 white birds! This is what Grandma wants! She wants me to attend Juilliard.
Nope, it's still not as bad of a Jewish joke than what Family Guy does with Mort. This is where we come to what I was talking about in the beginning, because it's at this point that the plot splits into two, and the one involving Cartman and Kenny really becomes secondary, where Chef's parents have to perform some kind of voodoo exorcism on Eric to get Kenny's soul out of him. The real plot essentially starts when Stan confronts Edward for putting ideas in Kyle's and other people's heads.
But I'm a psychic.
No, dude, you're a douche.
What if I really believe dead people talk to me?
Then you're a stupid douche.
I'm not talking to your friend and I'm not a douche!
You are so a douche! I'm nominating you for Biggest Douche in the Universe award, you douche!
This is where Stan figures out how Edward is a master of cold reading, and starts trying to explain to Kyle and everyone else how it works. Of course, when he gives them a demonstration, it only begins convincing people that Stan can talk to dead people as well, even as he keeps saying he's not really doing it.
I just asked her if November meant anything. Her father could have died in November, or Thanksgiving could have been really special for them, but I go with the birthday and validate it now as if I knew by saying he wishes you a happy birthday.
What else does he say?
This leads to Stan getting his own psychic TV show, which I guess he decides to do to try and debunk the whole myth, but it only makes things worse.
This is a trick that I am doing, okay?
You knew Peter was dead!
I didn't start by saying Peter is dead. I started by saying they want me to acknowledge Peter. That could have meant Peter was in the audience, or that Peter was somebody's friend, or Peter had died. I couldn't be wrong, see?
Oh, amazing.
Ask Peter if he knows my little Billy.
You know what's really sad? When this episode first aired about 15 years ago, I almost certainly would have called it unbelievable that people would be this stupid and gullible. Yet let's just say my innocence has been squashed in the years since. Meanwhile, Chef's parents succeed in exorcising Kenny, but they run into a problem since Chef didn't bring someone else to sacrifice and put Kenny's soul in, so Kenny gets trapped inside a roast beef. I'm not sure how many viewers really cared about that at this point. Wait, what's that? We gotta go to a commercial?
Rob Schneider, derp-de-derp. Derp-de-derpity-derpy-derp. Until one day, derp-a-derp-a-derp-a-derp. Derp-de-derp, da-teedly-toe. From the creators of Derp and Tum to Teedly Dumpy-derp, Rob Schneider is da derp de derp da teedly derpy derpy derp.
I'm still waiting for Film Brain to review that one. Stan's show becomes such a success that John Edward himself tracks down Stan and challenges him to a psychic showdown. And this is where I started to finally realize the issues with the episode. I guess one thing that would perturb me about this is that I guess Trey and Matt don't know for sure if Edward is really this much of an a-hole and are giving a false portrayal for comedy. It's kind of like my issue of what they did to Phil Collins. I mean, yeah, he's a con artist, and that's kind of why I enjoyed this episode trying to take down both his con act and all the people dumb enough to fall for it, but is he really a whiner like this? It really doesn't help your cause to have to give someone an alternate portrayal in order to deconstruct them. So we get our psychic showdown, and all that happens is Stan completely changes his tone to the audience.
At first I thought you were all just stupid listening to this douche's advice, but now I understand that you're all here because you're scared. You're scared of death and he offers you some kind of understanding. You all want to believe in it so much, I know you do. You find comfort in the thought that your loved ones are floating around trying to talk to you, but think about it. Is that really what you want? To just be floating around after you die having to talk to this asshole?
I mean, I guess you can say what happened here is Stan realizing the true secret is playing to the crowd to get them to listen, rather than always ridiculing and demonizing them, which I suppose is a good message there. I guess it's a way of telling us that we all need to stay grounded and not just believe in anything that tries to sate our fears of the unknown. And And then aliens show up and abduct John Edward because he's been officially nominated for biggest douche in the universe. Which he wins even though he was going up against an actual douche. Or maybe they just accidentally called the wrong name, you can never tell now. Yeah, that's probably what had to turn me off to this episode in the end when I really wanted to like it. I know I've said before how South Park's one strength is how they don't let the message overshadow the comedy, but sometimes the reverse can happen, and this was a big example of it. They were really trying to go for a good message about staying in touch with reality, but it's a little hard to take it seriously in an episode that features aliens and a kid getting another kid's soul exorcised from his body. Speaking of which, the gang loses the Kenny roast when they all return home, and
Rob Schneider is a somewhat popular comedic actor who seemed to have it all. Until one day, he came across a pot roast, and his life changed forever. Now he's sharing his body with an 8-year-old boy, and he's about to find out that being 8 ain't so great. Rob Schneider is Kenny.
you know something? That would probably still be a better movie than Norm of the North.